Hey guys, welcome to Positive Ray, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing Dovetail Games Flight Sim World. Now, Dovetail Games Flight Sim World was released late last year, and it was based on a benchmark for flight simulation technology using old FSX technology, but incorporating new stuff and making it 64-bit. Flight Sim World is supposed to provide players with unprecedented level of realism and officially licensed general aviation aircraft, and will be the most authentic and detailed in-sim representations on the market. And I personally will believe this because I think it's been doing very well. I've had it now for a day and I love it. As a prepared user myself, graphics are very good in comparison. They're very close together. In places though, Flight Sim World does look a little bit cartoony, but I think I prefer like the planes to look really nice, which they do, and everything works in them as well, including circuit breakers and anything you can think of will work in the aircraft. Now, with Flight Sim World, it has very detailed missions, some of which I've flown already, and I've really enjoyed flying them, with people talking inside the aircraft as well as ATC communication. It's very good, very realistic. They incorporate you into the checklist, whereas in Flight Simulator X missions they just did them themselves, so you're more involved with it. And it's nice to have some missions, because obviously Prepared 3D doesn't have any missions. Yeah. Now, one thing I do like about Flight Sim World is the checklist for the startup procedures. So you can click on the checklist and you'll bring up the checklist page, and you can go through the checklist and start up the aircraft. And you can also, when you configure the aircraft, make it cold and dark or pre-started. So it's nice to have it cold and dark, so you can get a feel of how to use the aircraft. And when you're using the checklist, it pans you around the cockpit, going to each position and lighting up the switches that you need to press. Which is nice because for beginners it gets them a feel of how to use an aircraft, especially for a lot of aircraft on Flight Sim World. Obviously they're all general aviation aircraft, and I know myself, I'm used to flying PNVG stuff, and I'm not used to flying aircraft such as the DA-42 and the DA-40, so it's nice to know where like the buttons are. One thing that's also amazing about Flight Sim World is the rain effects on the windows. They look very realistic and look like there is actually rain outside. And this is in contrast to a Prepared 3D version 4.1. They do have rain effects on the default aircraft, and not all the default aircraft as well, because such as like the A36 Bonanza doesn't have the rain effects. And the rain effects in Prepared version 4.1 do look very cartoony, and they're very blue. It looks like someone's like jumped into a swimming pool, whereas this does look very realistic, and you can still just about see out of it, but it gives that element of realism as well. Now, one thing that I will say about Flight Sim World is, despite having Orbex Global as the main textures for the scenery around the world, I did find that the airports do look very poor, and obviously the FSX and Prepared airports don't look very good either compared to sort of X-Plane 10 and 11 airports, and I expect that because obviously the type of sim that they are. But yeah, I thought they would spend a little bit more time making the airports look a little bit better. Like on a Prepared 3D version 4, the airports do look quite good, and they've kind of got their own version of Rex, which is nowhere near as good. You can kind of see the different contrasts on the runway, and some of the airports do look a little bit better. And one of the things as well is it doesn't have the compatibility that Prepared does. And one of the problems with this is for Flight Sim World is that I want to get airports, and I want to use the UK 2000 stuff, such as UK 2000 Gatwick version 4 Extreme and Exeter Extreme, which I do own, and also airports such as Skiathos, which would be a lovely airport to have on Flight Sim World, because you can also fly from the GA aircraft, but it just doesn't have that compatibility, which I do think they will improve in the date, but we're yet to see so far, which could prove a problem, because I know as a Flight Sim market we want the compatibility, and if the compatibility is not there, we're going to be less likely by the sim. I think that's why a lot of people have moved to X-Plane yet, because of that compatibility issue. So this could be a problem for Flight Sim World and Dovetail games, but I'm sure they'll rectify it soon. Now, possibly my favourite feature of Flight Sim World, and this does come from Dovetail Games Flight School, which came out before Flight Sim World, and you've got the Flight School feature inside of it, and I love it personally because it really allows you to immerse yourself into the flight training of the aircraft. So here we're doing one of the missions, your first takeoff. Well, it's not really a mission, it's more of a tutorial, and it really teaches you how to do things in the sim. And to actually complete the license, you do need a certain amount of solar hours inside free flight, which I think is very realistic, because they could have just said that once you've done the lessons you get your license, and obviously that's not going to be as realistic. Then in real life we actually need a certain amount of hours. So to do your light aircraft license in Flight Sim World, you need, I think it's 3 hours of solo flying, and you have to do all the tutorials in the Piper Cub, which is obviously again very well modelled with fuel gauges and circuit breakers. Now, one of the things that I do like about the lessons is that they are all One thing I also like about Flight Sim World is how you can plan the flight. So as you just saw there when I quickly loaded up the flight, you select your airport, and it's got you can move a little line around and go to different waypoints and airports. So it's very nicely modelled on how you can do that. One thing I'd also say about it is I'm very keen on the snow effects on the plane, because with snow normally it falls in a very uniform order in FSX and P3D, and it doesn't in real life. It's not at all uniform, but in Flight Sim World, when it does fall, it forms a very unusual pattern compared to the rain, which is like a lot more realistic than FSX and P3D. So I think it's all very nice. Some of the scenery is a little bit outdated in Flight Sim World though, such as in London we don't have the shard, but I think that can all be improved in time with compatibility improving, so you will be able to get add-ons such as Rolex, England, UK 2000s and flight cameras, which I think would be a very nice addition. But one of the things I was surprised about is Princess Juliana Airport. It's one of the airports I flew out of. I haven't actually shown it in here, but I was very impressed with that. It now has a terminal area and jetways, so it looks much more like it does in real life. But I'm kind of confused about why they've improved some airports and haven't improved them all. So I think I would have preferred them to improve lots of airports. Or if they wanted to improve lots of airports, if they were to more focus on certain areas inside the sim. So obviously it's a general aviation simulator. If they were to get areas, so maybe areas the size of England that they were to really work on, and you get like 4 or 5 of them. So maybe if they were to work on like England, I don't know, like Northeast America, Northwest America, sort of areas like that where Like, if they talk to the community when they were developing the game about where they really wanted to fly, then you could really get some really decent scenery for that area, I think, which would be nicer. So it wouldn't be so much restricted to one area, which I think well, actually no, you want it to be restricted to like an area, so you get better scenery. But I think Dovetail Games Flight Sim World is more about the aircraft as well as good ground textures, and I don't think it's so much focused on the airport. I think it's more based on training features, so sort of training you on the aircraft, and I think this is true because of the flight school side of it, which I love so much.